All right.
Beautiful.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us for this month's Advocacy and Policy 101. What's the tea on fly-ins with our guest speaker today, Tyler Edwards. Tyler is the grassroots advocacy coordinator at the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition, of which WFAN is a member. And we're really excited to have her here today to share a little more about what it's like to interact with your legislators. And this is something I'll add too that
hmm
I personally requested since I don't have a strong, I guess, state or federal advocacy background. I've mostly done city level work where
hmm
the relationships are a little different. So this is something that I will add that I am looking forward to benefiting from as well. Tyler does have a presentation today. If you've got questions as we're going through, feel free to drop them in the chat because we will have time for Q&A at the end. So I'm gonna
hmm
go ahead and pass it over to Tyler.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And I'm so excited to get into this hot tea. So for our first definition, a fly-in is a trip to Washington, D.C., where I am based up in Northwest D.C., to meet with your members of Congress and tell them what you need. So over the course of the presentation today, we're going to learn about why you might participate in a fly-in, how to prepare, and also why right now is a good time to be a part of a fly-in. To get started, again, using our handy dandy chat, I'm curious about how many of you have participated in a fly-in before. And you can put that in the chat or you can raise your hand and I can see that. Okay, nice. Oh, Sam, so good to see you. And okay, gotcha. And second question, if you haven't participated in a fly-in, who have you met with a state or local legislator? And again, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay, yeah, nice. I have too. Okay, got it. Got it. A few couple. And the last question is how many of you are farmers? Okay, got it. Couple. Very helpful. Yeah, absolutely. Aspiring farmers, love to see it. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That is just a little information for me. And with that, we are ready to get started. So, first, NSAC is the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. And like Jennifer said, WFAN is a part of our coalition. We're so happy to have y'all. And we host at least one fly-in every year. And I've been a part of planning them over the past 3 years. And I think altogether, I've helped plan five of them. And all of the pictures that you'll see in the presentation today are from the last fly-in that I was a part of, which was back in February. And we is the coalition contains more than 170 different organizations across the country, and all of us work together alongside farmers and lawmakers to reform the federal food and farm policy. So we do a lot of work around the farm bill, but we also do a lot of work around appropriations, and we support various different like individual bills as they come up. But federal policy around sustainable agriculture is our focus. Another big part of what we do is lobbying. So lobbying is this big concept that I feel like comes up frequently, but people don't often explain it. So I wanted to make sure that we started off with a definition. So lobbying is the regulated practice of attempting to influence government decision making by communicating with legislators. And there are restrictions on who can participate in lobbying, but even people who aren't allowed to lobby can educate their lawmakers without making a specific ask, like asking them to vote for a certain way or to sign on it for as a co-sponsor of a bill. You may also hear fly-ins called lobby days, especially when you're meeting with multiple different legislators in the same day. And lobbying is a big part of federal organizing and state organizing. Like when you're going into an office, you are most likely asking them to do something, and that is all that the term means, at least all that you need to know at this level. And as for the restrictions on who can do what kinds of lobbying and how, I'm not going to cover that in this presentation. And yeah, you're going to have to find somebody else to talk about that because I only understand the parts that I need to.
That's fair. Yeah, there's other workshops for that. We'll look at that.
Perfect. Then up next, why before we talk about what happens during a lobby day or how to get ready, I want to make sure that we know why you might want to be a part of a fly-in the first place. So, why you? First off, a great reason to come to DC is that you have legislators here who are claiming to represent your interests, whether you voted for them or not. And it's your responsibility to tell them if that's true, and to hold them accountable to do the things that they promised to do as part of their campaign. Also, you're a reliable source of on-the-ground knowledge about what life is like in their district, which includes information about how any programs that you're a part of are working. And when I say any programs that you're a part of, there are federal programs that are impacting you, whether you know it or not. Even if you are, like, for example, if you are a, if you have been to a farmer's market and you found out about a farmer's market by seeing a flyer somewhere or seeing like signs in your neighborhood, that may have been the result of a farmer's market promotion grant. And even if you didn't know about that grant, you still found out about your farmer's market because of it. So, another good reason is you are willing and able to come. If you're considering being a part of a fly, you found a specific opportunity and you decided to participate, you are one of very few who have all of those boxes checked. In order to get and be a part of a fly-in, you usually have to have a relationship with a nonprofit, and that's honestly like an inherently exclusive system. Like you have to know someone who works there or have done the work to build that relationship. You heard about it in the first place, and you also have to have the time and energy that is required to organize, which goes above and beyond just doing your job and the things that you need to do to survive in this capitalist world that we're living in. However, you're probably not the only one in your community who has something that they want to say to their legislators. Not everyone's able to make it to in-person meetings because of all those factors like time and money and childcare or finding someone to do the work that you would be doing on your farm rather than taking the day off to come to DC. And it's often multiple days. After every time that we do a fly-in, we ask for feedback. And this is a quick summary of what farmers have to say about the pros and cons of participating. So, on the pro side, like I was saying, it's we as like members of this country have a responsibility to hold our legislators accountable, and it is a participating in a fly-in is a great way to engage with your legislators, and it feels good, like to know that you're doing something important. And farmers tell us that when they come to our fly-ins, that they get that feeling. It's also a professional development opportunity. I have learned so much from being a part of planning fly-ins and also from participating in meetings myself. It's a kind of presenting and public speaking that, again, not many people get the opportunity to do and to learn how to do. I think it really helps to bring down the legislators from this like pedestal that we put them on. They're all regular people, and more than that, they're your employees. Your taxpayer, your dollars are going to them, and they need to know what you're interested in and or what you care about in order for them to be doing their jobs well. Otherwise, there are other people who are coming in and lobbying them, whose interests will be represented, and yours will not. Also, networking and connecting with other concerned and organized farmers is a great way to learn about the kinds of programs that are available for farmers. I'm focusing on farmers here because that's who NVAC is typically bringing in, but that also goes for anyone that's a part of the food system or right now during appropriation season, there are all kinds of groups that are coming in. So meeting other people, learning about what motivated them to make this journey here can tell you so much about the work that's going on, like in your field. And lastly, it's often fun. It depends on the organization that you're working with, but a lot of them have some kind of hospitality capacity to do like happy hours or to feed you, hopefully, or like put you in a hotel room and all of that, which even though it's a really busy day, those things can help make a difference and make you feel more comfortable while you're participating in a fly-in. Then on the other side, the cons, it required, like I said, like it being a part of a fly-in requires taking time away from whatever it is that you're doing, away from your family, away from your community, away from your business or your job or your farm. And that requires a lot of logisticking on your part in order to make it possible for you to take that step away. Another major con that we hear about from farmers is having negative experiences with their lawmakers. These offices often are understaffed or they are not interested in hearing what it is that you have to say for any number of reasons. Some legislators are not, are not as dedicated to listening to their stakeholders as they should be. And that can lead to negative experiences, like whether it's the kind of like casual disrespect of like someone, the person that you're meeting with just like being on their phone for the whole time or not taking notes or like not engaging with whatever it is that you have to say, or more something more blatant like them I getting more combative or trying to belittle you or tell you that just straight up the things that you're talking about don't matter. We've heard about some pretty negative experiences that folks have had during fly-ins, and it's important to know about and be prepared for the conversation going in a totally different way than you expected it to go. And lastly, fly-ins require a very particular kind of public speaking that can feel high stakes even though it's these meetings are closed, they usually take place in the member's office and less often like in a semi-public space, like a hallway, like if they don't have space for your whole group. Um, it still is a time where someone who has the power to make decisions about millions or thousands of dollars of funding is listening to what you have to say and taking it into account. And that can feel like a lot of pressure. And there are, hopefully, the organization that you're working with has some extended training to help you feel more prepared, feel like it's less pressure. But I think I still feel a little nervous in every Hill meeting that I go into with a new office. So, with all of that in mind, it's time to get informed. Once you have decided and found an opportunity to participate in a fly-in, it's time to get ready. Alrighty. First off, you are an expert in your own experience. When it comes to figuring out what to say in a fly-in, it's best to start there. Think about how you wanted to grow your business in the last year or so, or what were the factors that prevented that from happening? Of course, that could include things like a disaster, like a flood or a fire. It could, and for this last year, for a lot of people, it included canceled contracts, the government not doing the things that it promised to do, and creating huge funding gaps for people all around the country. Thinking about what's going on in your community. What's by talking to your neighbors ahead of a fly-in, you can learn a little bit more about the ways that people are already organized outside of the folks that are bringing you to DC. Like maybe there is a uh, community of practice around people that do greenhouse farming, or maybe they're all of the farmers market managers in your area get together and talk tips and tricks. Those can be great spaces to learn about, again, federal programs that people are already using, or the federal program, or the problems that a federal program might be able to solve. And then that can help to give context to your own story and give you topics to do more research about. And there may also be other kinds of support, like mutual aid networks or peer support. You can also consider what are people talking about at your church or in your PTA or even on the sidelines of your community sports league. Learning about what's going on in your community can help you be a better representative of those things when you go into a Hill office. But like I said before, talking about your own experience is really key. And then after you do both of those things, like t thinking about your own experience and connecting with your community, it's time to settle on like a short list of topics that you think you might want to talk about. And again, because most fly-ins are organized by nonprofits, they often come with their own slate of topics to discuss too. And they may even point you to specific bills or have resources that talk about those. NSAC definitely does that. We come up with a lot of papers and resources that farmers can use. And also, we make sure that farmers that come to our fly-ins know that they're free to talk about whatever it is that they need to. And so don't feel restricted if the nonprofit that you're working with has its own agenda, especially if you're not on staff and they're bringing you out there. Like you're there to talk about you, and that's why they chose you. Often, once you know what you want to talk about, it's time to see how your legislators are responding to those issues. So, as you know, everyone has one representative in the House of Representatives and then two state senators. And GovTrack.us can tell you who those people are. Then after that, Google will become your best friend. There's a lot of resources in GovTrack as well. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And as like voting records, there's like a chart in GovTrack that tells you that compares all different legislators to one another to tell you how like fiscally conservative or fiscally liberal they are. There's a lot of resources in there, and it can feel like a lot, which is why I also say, yeah, go back to Google, look at the headlines that are coming out about your legislators, and also what they are saying about themselves. So sometimes a nonprofit will be bringing you in to talk to a specific one of your legislators, in which case it's you should probably focus on them in your research, but be an informed citizen. Learn about everybody. All of it matters. What you're looking for in that search is any official opinion on those list of topics that you care about. But you're also looking for the version of themselves that they're presenting. Lastly, you may not be meeting with the representative themselves in your meeting, but more likely you're going to be meeting with a member of their staff. This may vary like on a lot of things, like how like some of it comes down to does the office like recognize the name of the nonprofit that you're going with, and are they at a place where the member wants to meet with them in person? But even outside of whatever relationship they might have, members of Congress's schedules are incredibly volatile. They're even if you have a meeting scheduled with them directly, sometimes they may back out at the last minute because there was a vote that got scheduled during your meeting or something like that. We've had that happen pretty much every year, and it's very disheartening. However, the when you're meeting with a staff member, usually you'll be meeting with someone who specializes in agriculture. And then it is their job to elevate everything that their constituents are is saying about agriculture to the member of Congress. So they're the filter, and they are helping to inform your member of Congress's opinion about a specific topic. So that is a really important person to meet with. And also, they're much more likely to know about like specific bills or things that you're talking about. Because like I said, like it's their job to be that educator. And until the member of Congress has gotten that education, they likely don't know what you're talking about. It might not be have reached their radar yet. So now you have an idea of what you want to talk about, and you also know who you're talking to. So it's time to figure out what you want to say. So you can start preparing by thinking about these four factors. And a lot of it comes down to persuasion. Like when you are coming into an office as part of a fly-in, you are making the case for that your lawmaker should listen to what you have to say. And so it is your job to tell them why exactly they should care. I was in a training last week where the organizer said that Hill meetings are like plays where one of the main characters does not have the script. But gratefully, you get to write the script. And so, yeah, you get to keep it. And that metaphor, this part is like your monologue. It's the elevator pitch of who you are, what happened, uh, how did it affect you or your community, what core truth or value was involved, why, and lastly, like what can your representative do? When we talk about what happened, I mean the who, what, when, where, all of that. Let's say that they're thinking about farmers markets. Let's say that your farmers market has really been using the Double Up Food Bucks program, and it's been going well. But there is the threat of funding to that program being cut. And that affects your community because let's say 20% of the people that come to your farmers market are using this program in order to buy produce that's healthy and local for their families. Then you could connect that to a core truth, such as everyone deserves access to healthy local food, or no one in our community should go hungry. And also, I highly encourage you there to dig into what it would say about your lawmaker in order if they were to side with you. So, for this example, if your lawmaker decides to side with you and help to continue to support a Double Up Food Bucks program, then it means that they are committed to showing their community that they care about what they eat, that they want to support both farmers and families and everyone that is eating and create more equitable access to food. Finally, you land the plane with a specific ask. So, Member of Congress, will you support funding for the Double Up Food Bucks program in the next farm bill? Something that they can say yes or no to and very clearly. However, you are often unlikely to get a straight yes or no. Um, it's still important to make that ask and then wait for them to respond to you. And all of that kind of pitch can take you anywhere from like 3 to 5 minutes. And we'll get into the timeline of Hill meetings a little later. So it's crucial to work with the other people that you're going to this meeting with to develop an agenda of who's speaking when, like I was saying before, that script. And when you meet with them, uh, build in a lot of time, more than you think that you may need, so that you can practice what you're going to say. When farmers are coming to an NSAC fly-in, we usually take them out to dinner and do all of this in that kind of social space to make it feel a little lighter and more fun and energetic. And we go around the table and everyone shares their pitch with a group and everybody claps and snaps. It's very sweet. Um, some farmers prefer to have their exact words like written out, while others like to use bullet points instead. But for everyone, we really encourage them to bring props and resources. So a lot of times this is pictures of their farms, or if the issue, or pictures that show like the issue that they're talking about. Last year we had a lot of, or I guess in the last 2 years, we brought in a lot of farmers from North Carolina, where I'm from, to talk about the impacts of Hurricane Helene. And those farmers chose to bring with them photos of the impacts of that hurricane on their farms. That is really common. And it's impactful. When you're telling a story about something terrible that has happened, it can feel like that's hard work to do. It takes a lot of vulnerability and courage to talk about destruction and something really painful happening. And that is, if you are willing to share that, it can help to build a stronger relationship and stronger and more persuasive appeal to this member of Congress that they are more likely to remember if they can see like your apple orchard that was devastated, in addition to you sharing about it with words. Some farmers also like to bring products from their farm. Like if you're a grain farmer, you could bring a little bag of grain. There are rules about gifts, which all essentially boils down to nothing above $20. Like, but anything below $20 or less, you can bring as a gift, or just give them something tangible to remember your story. Um, and the most common resource, like I said, is paper. So in this picture in the bottom right, you can see some of our papers. You can see little pieces of graphs and lots of bill names in there that are really specific. And the reason why we put those on paper is so you don't have to remember them. If you're going into this meeting with a someone who, like me, who does these meetings frequently, uh, in this prep meeting, you as a team can decide to have that organizer be the person to share all of the details about bills, and like be the person that has to remember what all these acronyms mean to supplement your story. Or if you feel comfortable, you can do all of that work yourself. Um, but yeah, these we like you'll hear organizers call one pagers. It's because it's one sheet of paper that talks about your bill, and one sheet can include the front and the back. And I have in for February, I saw a lot more farmers bring in one pagers that talked about their farm, and I was so happy to see that. And you can put all of the other stuff that I was saying, like about the pictures and stories, onto that piece of paper to keep with them. I next, clothes. You can show up in whatever makes you feel good. A lot of times organizers will have business like formal attire on, but you should wear something that makes you look like the person what you're representing. We bring a lot of farmers wearing boots and hats, not the muck boots, but slightly nicer. Like, but listen, you can bring your dirt into the halls of Congress if you would like to. I think that would be a powerful statement and would get your message across. Um, and it you can also bring things like pins or stickers that help to share your issues too. I really love when people have big pins on that just share what they're talking about in a couple of words that are really memorable. And then also more on the logistics side, it is so easy to get lost on Capitol Hill. So know where you're going ahead of time and plan for waiting in line for a long time. Depending on the time of year, you can spend like 30, 40 minutes just waiting in line to get into the building before you have to go through the labyrinth of actually finding where you're supposed to be. So always plan for a journey to get to the office. Then, once you have finally made it to the office, after doing all of this preparation and taking all of this care to meet with the other people that are on your team, it's time to actually go in and deliver. Once you get there, you may have to wait again. Sometimes, like I said, the schedules of members of Congress and their staff can change very quickly and without very much notice. And sometimes they'll have you come in and then just sit down, like offer you some water or something like that until it is your turn to meet. So if they make you wait, don't be intimidated. That is very common. Once you finally get to meet with either the member of Congress themselves, like in this photo, or with a representative of your representative, like a member of their staff, shake their hand. You can give them your business card, greet them in a friendly manner, and then lead with grassroots power. This is another thing that I learned, or was refreshed on last week, but talk about who you are and who you represent. And that can mean look a lot of different ways. Like if you run a nonprofit of your own, you can talk about the services that you provide. Or if you are a farmer, talk about how many people your food reaches and how. Um, Lead with the impact that you're having on their district to give them that first reason for why they should listen to you. And then it's time to share your story, end with an ask, and then wait for them to respond. Throughout this meeting, take a lot of notes. Or have a designated note taker who writes down what they concede to, what they refuse to talk about or refuse to do, and also any non-answers that they give you. I talked about this a little bit before, but the answer that you're most likely to get from a staff member is, okay, I will make sure that my boss hears about this, which is a non-answer. It means I literally heard you with my ears, but I'm not going to commit to anything right now. That can feel disappointing. It can feel like placating. And you are welcome to push past that and make another ask after that. You can invite them for a follow-up meeting. Like if your ask, for example, is asking them to vote a certain way on a specific bill, you can ask, hey, this vote, because you've done your research, you may know when this vote is happening. And you can say, can we meet again ahead of this specific vote so we can get a better idea of where you stand and what you will do? Or you can ask them to make a public statement. You can ask them to follow up in a meeting within their district. You can invite them to your farm to meet with other farmers from your community to have a roundtable discussion about this issue further. And then after you've done that, hopefully you've gotten a yes to one of those. It's very common to get a yes to an invitation to a farm tour, a or like a different kind of public appearance like that. Um, and at the end, I encourage you to ask for a picture. One reason why we have taken all of these pictures is that it's helpful as a messaging tool afterwards to other people in their district, and because it helps us to apply pressure if needed. So let's say that you are past the point where you are asking nicely, like you in your community have been communicating with a member of Congress for weeks and still have not been able to get a response. That means that it is time to apply a little bit of pressure. Some easy ways that you can do that are thinking about ahead of the meeting. So you and your community, other farmers or stakeholders, other people in their district can get together to do just a huge stream of calls and emails about the issue that you're coming to present ahead of the meeting. We like to do that because it allows us to present, even if those emails or communications aren't lobbying, like they aren't coming with that ask, and they're just talking about the issue. That is a great way to get that issue on like the staff's radar and for them to start a conversation about it with the legislator that you're trying to reach. Or at least, even if they don't do that, by the time that you come in, they will know, oh, yes, we've been expecting you. We've been hearing about the Double Up Food Books program. So glad someone is in here to help us like figure out what we need to do and share more information. And again, like our opposition is doing this too. So if they're not hearing from you, they are hearing from someone else about where these precious government funds and taxpayer dollars should go. So make sure they're hearing from you beforehand. Another way to apply pressure is by bringing more people and key stakeholders to the meeting with you. So crowd out the room, make the power shift from them to you, and take control of the meeting. Remember, you have the script. You don't have to wait for them to give you an opportunity to speak. You can come in and just start speaking. They already know, have given you the opportunity to have this meeting. You don't have to be polite, especially in meetings after where they have said no already, especially multiple times. Other ways are to change the person that you're meeting with. Work with the people that are organizing the fly-in to see if you can meet with a party leader or a committee leader, someone who has additional influence on top of just representing your district. You can also bring representations of grassroots power by things like sign-on letters or petitions with you as evidence of community support for your issue. And you can memorize data points to use in your pitch. In your meeting, again, doing additional research, if an important vote has already happened, you can use this as an accountability meeting to ask why they voted yes on the House Farm Bill draft, or why they voted no on spending additional money on the Double Up Food Bucks program. And then you may get an answer. In the answer that you get, again, may be evasive, it may be placating, but you can feel empowered to ask questions that need to be asked and apply additional pressure, especially in a year like this one when a lot of members of Congress are up for election. You are a stakeholder, you are a voter in a district, and you will be talking to other voters and stakeholders in their district. And maybe you already have. All of these are great ways to apply some additional pressure. And then after the meeting, it's time to follow up. So before I talked about resources like one pagers that you can bring with you, it's really important to send a virtual copy to the office too. And you can send other physical things too. One cool thing that we did as part of our fly-in in February was we invited our participants to make postcards that they could then hand deliver as a like a hand printed and handwritten reminder of what was spoken about, or mail to them later as a thank you note. Right after you and the group of people like leave the office and have a quick debrief so that everyone knows what happened in the meeting. And I guess like things like which bills did they support, which bills did they, or not just bills, but my mind is bill focused. Which topics did they seem to not know about? What things were new to them? Also, it could be things that will help your strategy later. Like, where did you see them perk up? Like, were they really interested in talking about an issue that's not on your list? And if so, can you learn more about that list or about who may be coming to them and lobbying them about that issue? Um, and sometimes that could be someone that you could align yourself with. That can help you to build a broader coalition. And sometimes we're stronger together. Sometimes the people that are bringing in those other issues are not people that we want to align with, but it's still helpful to know. Um, Also, you even before you have the actual meeting, you can pre-draft a follow-up email with any photos or resources that you plan to share so that you can send it like an hour after the meeting, even if you don't have time to write very much right then. Later, you and the group that you're going with can come together and fully debrief what happened. And that can also be a great time to discuss any follow-ups or commitments that you made in the meeting. Like, did you invite them to visit your farm? Yes. Then you need to plan that. What are you going to talk about? Who do you want to be there? All of that kind of thing. Are you going to have a reporter come and take photos? All that needs to be planned. And NSAC does that through a lobby day debrief form, which is also pictured here, where we, as you know, the organizing nonprofit, want to know how all of these meetings went, and so we just send out a Google form for people to fill out to tell us about it, and then that information is so important to how we inform our strategy. Okay, deep breath. We're coming in for a landing. I want to talk a little bit about why now, and I'm thinking both, you know, now like March 30th, but also this, general season is a good time to be a part of a fly-in. And what it comes down to is, yeah, Congress is failing all of us. There are, and by us, I mean people that need more funding. This includes BIPOC. For us, when we're saying us, we mean small, sustainable, and diversified farms that are led by BIPOC and farms that are just starting out. There is a major lack of funding for all of those groups, and compared to the funding that is available for the largest commodity farms in this country, and we view that as a failure. It's not an equitable system how those taxpayer dollars are going out, and we are doing something about it. So, one of them that I mentioned very briefly is the House Farm Bill. So, if you were doing a fly-in soon and were looking for a particular bill to connect the topics that you wanted to talk about to, I would definitely tell you to research the provisions in the House Farm Bill draft. So, if you haven't heard of the Farm Bill, it is a huge mammoth bill that bundles together a lot of agricultural legislation, and it's meant to be passed every 5 years. The last one expired in 2023. And since then, things have gotten a little bit wonky because Congress has repeatedly allowed it to expire and then extended it, and then also uh, gone around it through processes like reconciliation, which you may have heard about last year, and also funding freezes. So the Farm Bill now is being reintroduced as an idea of how to move ag legislation. And about 2 weeks ago, earlier in March, the House Agriculture Committee, which is responsible for drafting the Farm Bill, released a draft and then had a vote about it and decided to pass it into the whole House floor. That bill really misses the mark. It takes funding away from important conservation programs. It fails to invest in key local food programs that were really well loved all around the country, like the local, like LFPA. And it also does not expand access to safety net programs like crop insurance and disaster assistance. So when that vote happens, we want as many lawmakers to vote no as possible. The Farm Bill is a perennial topic these days, and the Senate is going to go through the same process too. And my colleagues on the policy team are starting to hear whispers about that as well. It should be coming, a Senate version should be arriving in the next couple of weeks. Another very timely topic to bring up is appropriations. So there are some programs that are funded completely through the Farm Bill, and there are also others that are funded through this other process called appropriations. Every year, the USDA has to allocate billions of dollars to those programs. And that process is called appropriations, and it's another bill that is drafted by the Appropriations Committee. And right now, and for the past few weeks, uh, appropriations is well underway. There are fly-ins in DC every day for people to tell their members of Congress about the key programs that they should be funding through the appropriations process, and that happens every year. So springtime, like March, is a really popular time for fly-ins because of appropriations. So if you're looking for some, this is when you can expect for organizations to plan them, or one season that is popular. Okay, we have learned so much. Uh, we're coming in. I said that already. Coming in for a landing, like it's a flying, little puns, light puns. Okay, so we have the tea, and now I want to just talk about briefly about finding a fly-in to participate in. Like I said before, a lot of fly-ins are invite only. So the best way is to find out about them is by getting involved with state and local nonprofits that do them. Again, WFAN is an NSAC member, and so you all are already one step ahead here because you know an NSAC member, you and I have told you about a flying that is possible. However, every organization, especially nonprofits, gets to decide its own priorities, and participating in fly-ins is a huge lift. So even if you are involved in organizations that do fly-ins or every once in a while, they may not happen every year. Um, th Also, you can find out about other NSAC members in your area on our website, and all of them are invited to our annual fly-in in February. Other farmer representing organizations like Heal Food Alliance and the National Family Farmers Coalition also do fly-ins on pretty much an annual basis. And of course, you can fly yourself in. You can arrange, anyone can contact a member of Congress's office scheduler and decide to meet with them. So you don't have to wait for a grassroots group. You can form a grassroots group with your neighbors. And again, like I said, truly no need to wait. If you don't, if you haven't been invited to be a part of a fly-in, you can visit in district offices. All legislators have offices in their state or their district somewhere. Sometimes they have multiple, and those are staffed just like the ones in DC. And legislators frequently visit their districts to meet with constituents. And you can invite them, like I said, to meet with you in person, especially if you Google congressional calendar and can find out when they're in recess. They are most likely to be in the districts during those times of the year, when they're not here in DC and participating in votes regularly. You can also go around them and be a part of building that public grassroots pressure for them to act by speaking to a reporter. Here we have an NSAC farmer on the right speaking with a Civil Eats reporter on the left. And you can do this too. You don't even have to wait for reporters. You could write an op-ed and submit it to your local media. You could, I don't know, work with your local radio stations or start a podcast. The world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. You can also start building a relationship with those staff on your own by calling and emailing them regularly to the point where they know your name. We have a lot of farmers who get involved with NSAC after being that person that their local staffers are always hearing from. Um, and lastly, like I said, you can organize with your friends and your family and your community and your church and your PTA and your kids' soccer team to figure out what you can do together. Okay, that is all that I got for you. I do want to also say that, yeah, like I said, fly-ins can be fun. This was something that we tried out this year, which was a bingo card of possible things that happen during fly-ins. And as you guys do them, I can submit entries for our bingo card too. But yeah, this is my email, and you can also, I referenced our website a lot. That is our website on the slide.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I think we've got
Yeah.
time for a couple of questions if
Hmm.
anybody's got one. You can also drop it in the chat if you're feeling shy.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess maybe while people are thinking about their question, I do have one. I guess, you know, how do you navigate going into a conversation where you're maybe anticipating a more negative reaction?
Yeah.
And some of the ways to, I guess, maybe you can't prevent it, but steer it in a productive direction.
Yeah, absolutely. That is like question number one that we get from farmers. It happens all the time. As I mentioned, I'm from North Carolina, and that is especially a big problem that we have with our legislators, as it's a purple state, and sometimes not everyone's on the same page. So when we're bringing forward issues about sustainable agriculture to legislators that represent the largest conventional like pork producers in the country, there are often negative interactions. So what we tell farmers ahead of those I mean, a lot of the things that I said, like, but really emphasizing not stick to, but like have the facts in addition to your story. So facts for a situation like that includes talking about the interest of people in your community to participate in sustainable agriculture programs, about the impact that you have seen directly, things that they can't argue with, because you've seen them with your own eyes and ears. And when they come back, by talking about, the influence of conventional agriculture, remind them that they're there to represent their constituents and not, unwieldy corporations. Um, yeah, I'd say that also really emphasizing the point of like, what would it say about you to choose to represent like sustainable agriculture or to choose to represent your constituents by listening to them.
Hmm.
And yeah, we try to stick with that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I guess I want to check again if anybody else on the call has a question for Tyler. All right, I don't think I saw anybody in the chat. It does look like we've got some folks excited to talk about soil policy.
Eh,
So I'll see what we can do about maybe creating a space for that. Um, Well, I want to thank you again, Tyler, for joining us.
absolutely.
This hopefully won't be the last of our conversations around this. I'd love to have NSEC back to talk about maybe another thing like how do you organize a good
Anytime.
farm tour. We'll
Hmm.
think about other topics. But thank you. Have a great day. For those of you on the call, keep your eyes open this week. We're going to be sending out our strategic planning survey this week just to get feedback around the future of WFAN. And anyone is welcome to reply to that. You don't need to be a current member. All right. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me. Have a great day, y'all.